Happy Taurus season. So here is my list of 10 movies to watch during Taurus season. All right. So the first movie is Like Water for Chocolate. Now, before I get into this movie, all of these movies that I'm going to list carry Taurus themes such as values, standards, money, conformity, food, stubbornness, and plants. So this first movie, Like Water for Chocolate, carries some strong Taurian themes, including values, standards, conformity, and it features the preparation of food, which is um, very much Taurus. So this whole movie centers around this woman named Tita. So let me just read the storyline. So this movie was released in 1992, and in a forgotten Mexico village, Tita and Pedro fall in love, but their marriage is forbidden as to traditions. Mother Elena sees Tita's role as her caretaker for life. No youngest daughter has ever married, and her daughter will not be the first to break the tradition. So that's the conformity theme with dealing with Taurus. Also, the mother Elena, she is very stubborn. So she is not trying to give Tita any leeway, even though Tita fell in love. Now, Tita's heart breaks when her mother offers Pedro her sister instead of her. And he accepted it just to live near Tita, he says. Now they live in the same house, and Mother Elena cannot forbid their love as she did their marriage. And the tagline for this movie is A Feast for the Senses. So this is a really good movie to watch. It does have subtitles, so you definitely want to just pay attention and read the subtitles and all that type of stuff. It is a Spanish movie, but it is really good. It has some really good messages, and it is heartbreaking as well. Next film. Next film is Fun with Dick and Jane. Now, this is a comedy featuring Jim Carrey, and it deals with money. So, Jim Carrey loses his job, and then he becomes desperate because they have grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle and certain luxuries, which is very tourist. And now they, have to scale down tremendously. So, here's the storyline. So, Fun with Dick and Jane was released in 2005. The day before Global Dine stock tanks, Allah Imran and his pension fund evaporates, the corporation CEO and CFO set up middle manager Dick Harper, that's played by Jim Carrey, to be the public face of the disaster. Jobless and with no savings, pension, or home equity, Dick and his wife Jane sink slowly into poverty. He looks for work, as do all former Global Dine executives. He even tries day labor with relatives of the Mexican nanny. A foreclosure notice sends Dick and Jane over the edge into a life of blue-collar crime. Then, as things finally look up, the report of a looming indictment pushes Dick and Jane toward a denouement with real criminals, the white-collar guys. And the tagline for this movie is giving big businesses a run for their money. So if you haven't seen this movie, it is hilarious. I have the DVD. I like to watch it every now and then when I need some good laughs. So definitely want to check this out. Next movie, one of my favorite movies, Under the Cherry Moon. So I chose this movie because it is very sleek, it is classy, it is a delight for the senses, it is so luxurious, and Prince really did a great job with this movie. So Under the Cherry Moon was Prince's second movie, and it deals with him being in France, and he plays a gigolo. So let me just read the storyline. So, Under the Cherry Moon was released in 1986, and it deals with two cousins from Miami. They are in the Mediterranean, enjoying life by scamming money off of rich women. One day, they read about a young woman set to inherit $50 million from her father. At first, Tricky has Christopher Tracy talking into romancing her for money, but as he gets to know her, Christopher falls in love with her. This love comes between the cousins, and Tricky tells about the plan. So the tagline for this movie is see it, hear it, feel it, live it. So again, this movie is a delight to the senses. It has some beautiful cinematography. I love that it's in black and white. It is a very artistic film. Great music in it. The whole soundtrack to Under the Cherry Moon is banging. So you definitely want to check this out if you haven't checked it out before. The Inkwell. So The Inkwell is a family movie. It was released in 1994, and this movie deals with values and standards and also money. So let me just read the storyline. So in 1976, Drew Tate is a young teenager who has trouble dealing with life after he accidentally sets his house on fire. His parents, Kenny and Brenda, decide to go to Martha's Vineyard to spend 4th of July weekend with Brenda's sisters, Francis' Black Republican husband, Spencer, and their son, Junior. So Brenda's family, they're bougie, and they got a lot more money than Brenda and her family. So that's a big part of the film. While there, Drew falls for a self-centered girl named Lauren, that's played by Jada Pinkett Smith, and befriends a married lady named Heather. While on their vacation, Drew deals with his parents' attempts to save their marriage as well as with his own troubles. Eventually, all of this leads to a life-changing event for Drew as well as his parents. So the tagline for this movie is "Summer's never been so much fun." So this is a really good movie. It's very touching. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Lorenz Tate does a really good job in it. Next movie, The Five Heartbeats. This is very much a Taurian film because it deals with music, it deals with singing. It was released in 1991. Robert Townsend featured in the middle right here. He I believe he wrote the film and also directed it. Now, in the early 1960s, a quintet of hopeful young African-American men formed an amateur vocal group called the Five Heartbeats. After an initially rocky start, the group improved, turned pro, and rise to become a top-flight music sensation. Along the way, however, the guys learned many hard lessons about the reality of the music industry with its casual racism and greed, while the personal weaknesses of the members threatened to destroy the integrity of the band. So there was no taglines for this movie, but I'm sure a lot of my viewers already seen this film. It's one of my favorites from the 90s. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely you want to see it. Definitely has some strong Taurus themes, mainly with the music, the singing, but also dealing with values. Steel Magnolias. So Steel Magnolias is a great film. It's a drama. It was released in 1989, and it features an all-star cast featuring Sally Field and Julia Roberts. Now, the storyline goes as pivoting around the lively Truvy Jones, Louisiana beauty parlor, a tightly knit band of friends confronts grief, loss, life's unforeseen tragedies, and heartaches with what they do best, gossiping and sharing. The spirited diabetic and bride-to-be Shelby, her always supportive mother, Malin, Truvy's gawky assistant, Annelle, the city's curmudgeon, Weezer, and the town's former First Lady, Clary, are the warm Southern belles who know how to survive life's challenges with their unwavering friendship. But when Shelby decides to conceive, things will turn upside down. Now, the taglines are the funniest movie ever to make you cry. Sometimes laughter is a matter of life and death. And when I see this movie, when I get to the end, I always cry. This movie is a tearjerker, but it also has some really funny moments as well. And Sally Field, who plays Malin, she's the mother. She reminds me of a Taurus all day, and she's hella stubborn in this film. But so is her daughter, played. So her daughter is Shelby. Shelby's stubborn as well because Shelby is determined to have a child, even though she was warned against having children by her doctors. So Still Magnolias is a great film. It's a tearjerker. And if you haven't seen it, you definitely want to see it during tourist season. The Mosquito Coast. This is one of my favorite movies that was released in the 80s. It was released in 1986, featuring Harrison Ford. I love Harrison Ford. Let me just read the storyline. An eccentric and dogmatic inventor sells his house and takes his family to Central America to build a utopia in the middle of the jungle. Conflicts with his family and a local preacher and with nature are only small obstacles to his obsession, based upon a Paul Theroux novel. And the taglines are, he never bargained for what he found. Ali Fox followed his dream to the Mosquito Coast. He planned a paradise. He created a hell. How far should a man go to find his dream? Ali Fox went to the Mosquito Coast. He went too far. Now, it carries the Taurus themes of values, also nature, and also stubbornness. So Harrison Ford's character, Ali, was very, very stubborn, and that resulted in disaster. So if you haven't seen this movie, it is really good, especially if you like films dealing with adventure, dealing with having to face adversity, having to overcome obstacles. You'll definitely appreciate this film. Next, we have Little Shop of Horrors. And the reason why I picked this film is because it deals with a plant, and Taurus rules plants. So Little Shop of Horrors was released in 1986. It's one of my favorite movies from the 80s. It is a musical, so if you're not into musicals, you may not like this film, but it's one of those musicals that's really easy to get through. So if you're not really a musical type of person, you might actually appreciate this film. It has some really good music in it. And as you can see, that's Tisha Campbell and oh my God, why can't I think of her name? Pam from Martin, Tashina Arnold. So Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell, they are featured in this film. They are singing the songs, some of the songs, and it shows that they've been like really close friends for a long time because this movie came out in 86. Now, just to read the storyline, Seymour Krelborn is a nerdy orphan working at Mushnick's, a flower shop in urban Skid Row. He harbors a crush on fellow coworker Audrey Foucard and is berated by Mr. Mushnick daily. One day, as Seymour is seeking a new mysterious plant, he finds a very mysterious, unidentified plant, which he calls Audrey 2. And the plant actually came as a result of a total eclipse of the sun, which is interesting. The plant seems to have a craving for blood and soon begins to sing for his supper. Soon enough, Seymour feeds Audrey's sadistic dentist boyfriend to the plant and later Mushnick for witnessing the death of Audrey's ex. Will Audrey 2 take over the world, or will Seymour and Audrey defeat it? Now, Steve Martin plays the crazy, whacked out dentist, and that's one of my favorite scenes. It's funny as hell. And Levi Stubbs, he sings, he does the singing. He sings, he's basically the plant. And Levi Stubbs, he's from the Four Tops, and he has a great voice. So that's a treat. So here are the taglines. Don't feed the plants. Put a rare house plant on your television. It talks, it sings, it eats people. A singing plant, a daring hero, a sweet girl, a demented dentist. And next, I have Fargo. I chose Fargo because this is a movie dealing with money and how people could go too far when it comes to greed, when it comes to the love of money. You know what they say, the love of money is the root of all evil. So Fargo was released in 1996, and the storyline goes as Jerry works at his father-in-law's car dealership and has gotten himself in financial problems. He tries various schemes to come up with money needed for a reason that is never really explained. It has to be assumed that his huge embezzlement of money from the dealership is about to be discovered by father-in-law. When all else falls through, he sets in motion earlier, the plans he set in motion earlier for two men to kidnap his wife for ransom to be paid by a wealthy father. From the moment of the kidnapping, things go wrong, and what was supposed to be a nonviolent affair turns bloody with more blood added by the minute. Jerry is upset at the bloodshed, which turns loose a pregnant sheriff from Brainerd, Minnesota, who is tenacious in attempting to solve the three murders in her jurisdiction. I swear she's a Taurus in this film. Here are the taglines. A homespun murder story, small town, big crime, dead cold, a lot can happen in the middle of nowhere, and an ordinary place, an extraordinary thriller. So Fargo is a really good movie. It is rather slow moving in some parts, and that's another reason why I consider it to be a Taurus themed film, because it's rather slow and methodical, but it does keep you engaged. And last but not least, I have The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. This was released in 2001, and the reason why I chose this is because this deals with the possession of a ring, and possession deals with Taurus, and how the ring will possess people who possess it. So that's the strong Taurian theme, but it also deals with values, values in terms of doing the right thing versus doing the wrong thing. And the thing with that ring is it will corrupt people, even good people, it will turn them into evil. So let me just read the storyline. An ancient ring, thought lost for centuries, has been found, and through a strange twist of fate, has been given to a small hobbit named Frodo. When Gandalf discovers the ring is in fact the one ring of the Dark Lord Sauron, Frodo must make an epic quest to the cracks of doom in order to destroy it. However, he does not go alone. He is joined by Gandalf, Legolas the elf, Gimli the dwarf, and Aragorn, Boromir, and his three hobbit friends, Merry, Pippin, and Samwise. Through mountains, snow, darkness, forests, rivers, and plains, facing evil and danger at every corner, of the Fellowship of the Ring must go. Their quest to destroy the One Ring is the only hope for the end of the Dark Lord's reign. So here are the taglines. One ring to rule them all. One ring to find them. One ring to bring them all. And in the darkness bind them. Its power corrupts all who desire it. Only one has the will to resist it. A fellowship of 9 must destroy it. So it's a really good film if you're into adventure films, if you like are into films that show like things like ancient time periods, the mythology dealing with elves and dwarves and all that type of stuff, and wizards. You'll definitely appreciate this film. It's rather lengthy, but it's another film that will keep you engaged, and it has so many great scenes. There's some great monster scenes. The special effects are off the chain. So if you haven't seen this movie, definitely you want to watch it during tourist season. So that's my list of movies to watch during tourist season. Let me know what you think in the comments section. And if you have any movies that you would like to suggest to watch during tourist season, feel free to add them in the comment section. I'll be back with more videos. And if anybody would like reading, you could go to my website at rabina.com. Peace and many blessings.